All right, welcome to a special edition of the Pro Football Doc Sports Injury Central podcast here. It is the day after Mother's Day, so we always do a Mother's Day related podcast, and we have our most frequent guest here, which is Kim Chao. How many times have you been on?
I don't know how many times. Well, probably since you started your podcast.
I mean, it's kind of an annual thing. By the way, we're in the same room next to each other here at home. I always have Kim on because she always has a lot to say during the halftime injury chats and chiming in. Mm-hmm. And besides, I call it one of her Mother's Day gifts to come on, open mic, whatever she wants, kind of thing. And it's
some gift is better than no gift.
And then, but then you're always quiet on the podcast. But during the halftime chats, you're always chiming in. Oh. But anyway, so she is the most often gift. So let's start with this. What's changed since the past? Sports are a big thing in our life. And when our son is 12, daughter is 12. And when they were in kindergarten, when they were 5, there was a lot of discussions, and we talked a lot about, would you let your son play tackle football? Mm-hmm. And you were very firm on no, not my precious son. Mm-hmm. Concussion and whatever. And I was always, it's not a decision that I have to make right now. And I said that on media nationally and locally and otherwise. Mm-hmm. It's not a decision I have to make right now. He's only 5. Now, admittedly, and same thing that I tell patients, parents, and so forth, look, if he loves tennis as much as he loves football, obviously tennis is the safer sport to play. Go play tennis, whatever it is. But if he loves football, I would let my son play tackle football. Quite honestly, I'm more worried about getting his knee racked than the concussion side, per se. And there's reasons for that. And quite honestly, he's playing a lot of baseball. He's playing flag football. I'm not sure he's going to like the contact. It remains to be seen. Mm-hmm. So has your opinion changed at all of your son playing football?
It has dramatically changed.
A woman's prerogative.
Yeah.
Welcome to my world.
No, it's definitely changed. I mean, when we were talking about him playing football when he was little, I kind of didn't really see the point, didn't see any value in it other than perhaps injury. And as we move closer to the teenage years in high school and, all of the pressures of being a teenager that comes along with that, I think that notice that him perhaps playing tackle football will have a significant amount of benefit for him in high school and just kids in general, being part of a team, being encouraged by your coach to stay out of trouble, getting good grades, making good choices, because I think once they're teenagers, they're more strongly influenced by their peers and coaches than mom and dad. And in our experience so far, the kids that are playing sports and the coaches, we like those influences on our kids. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, well, and Taylor's here in the background of this. The background of the son, and he plays a lot of baseball and other things. Mm-hmm. And look, I'm helping coaches team that's in playoffs now, rec ball, whatever. The bottom line is, I don't have any delusions of grandeur that I think my son will play Major League Baseball or D1 baseball or even baseball in college per se. It remains to be seen.
Too
early. And I guess I'm jaded because I see and work with professional athletes. Yeah. Where we live in San Diego and La Jolla, my internal joke is it's probably the one league that the parents of the kids will have more athletic success than their kids, because we have a couple of former Chargers, a Major League Baseball player, people who live in La Jolla now, their kids play in the league. It's just a very high bar to get to. Mm-hmm. And so I want my son to play sports because of the camaraderie. It's not about, look, I think he did very well switching back to the public middle school because of baseball, knowing a lot of kids.
I think because of sports, and I think we have seen the sports for both our kids play such a strong value in work ethic and And also they both really like their sport. So it has been easy for us to academically continue to motivate them and be responsible, because even though we both love sports a lot, and we would never let them miss a game or miss practice, but we let them know that if their responsibilities aren't done, that they don't get to do their sports. And we have them buying into that pretty well right now, I feel like.
For the record, I'd let my son or daughter miss. Maybe you would a sports.
Well, I mean, we would probably, we'd probably intervene before it's their fault. But they've done great. They both have really great grades.
But my thing is this: in high school, I want them both to play a sport.
Mm-hmm.
My son is big into baseball,
mm-hmm.
and he's a good little baseball player.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't need to be the shortstop or the starting pitcher or the guy who hits home runs. I'm finding he's a utility player, but when there's a party, when he's a senior, he's included, and then there's a group of friends.
Yeah, and
right? I think that's big. And think about this for football. And I'm not advocating football. I already said at the beginning that if you like another sport more, and quite honestly, he sees me watch a lot of football, so there's some interest in football, and obviously football is a big deal kind of thing, and he's a football fan. So who knows if he'll want to play tackle football. He may get hit once or twice and not like the contact.
Yeah.
He may like the contact. But the one thing I have to say is, at least where we live in San Diego, you can't walk on and make a baseball team in high school if you haven't been playing for a long time. You cannot come close to making a basketball team unless you're really tall and if you're 5'10", you better have played a lot of basketball to make a team. Same with soccer. You can't walk on a soccer team, girl or guy, without playing.
Not where we live. No.
Lacrosse.
None of the high schools.
Big water polo here in town. You need to have been playing earlier to make it. And yes, some schools always have a quote no cut sport, so anyone can join. But that typically, no offense, that's our dog in the background. Typically, no offense. In the fall, that's cross country. In the spring, it's track. That's different than a team sport. Quite honestly, tennis is hard. Like everything is, kids are doing it ahead of time. But the one sport for most teams that's still no cut is football.
Yeah.
Now, does that guarantee you playing time? No. But you'll get a helmet and shoulder pads and be on part of the team. And that is potentially an upside of a strange upside in football. That it's become a no-cut sport for the most part in most schools, at least in our area. Yeah.
And I think too, sports, I remember when our son was playing t-ball and he was kind of like a wallflower, wasn't really into it. And we looked at we walked by an 11 and 12-year-old game where he plays now, and he's a good player, great contributor at this level. We thought there's just no way we could foresee him being in that mix. And I think the same thing with high school football. This fall, we went to a few high school football games. And as he gets closer, it's like, oh, I can see him on the field here, like contributing as he's gotten a little bit older. So it doesn't seem so overwhelming, I suppose.
So big change. You've changed your mind.
Yeah, definitely a big change. And, I'm still open to it. We actually even discussed him playing Pop Warner football this fall. And he was super into it. And as it's getting closer, he's getting a little nervous. And he also wants to just kind of focus on baseball, and baseball takes up a ton of time. But we kind of definitely have agreed that his 8th grade year before high school, that he's going to play a little bit of Pop Warner in the fall, just to kind of prepare for high school. And also, he may hate it. And then it's like, then we need.
And contrary to belief, I never played football. Everyone thinks I played. Even the Charger players think I played because I'm a little bit bigger.
But you wanted to play football.
I would have,
but your parents wouldn't let you.
No, they blocked me. My older brother played water polo. They thought that was innocent enough.
Yeah.
He did well. He was 2 years older than me. Summer before high school, he's driving. I'm not. What are you doing? Go with him to the practice. Okay. And all of a sudden in the fall, I'm playing water polo. And then all of a sudden, wait a minute. What about that football? So all I got was the Thanksgiving Day tackle football game on the field where we would do some damage. But I was involved in water polo, so I didn't even get the chance to play football. But I would have wanted to play football. But is what it is. So change your mind there.
Yeah.
Or Daddy was right. No, just kidding.
Well,
we'll see. We'll see if he does or not.
I mean, you've known me for a long time, so sometimes when I come with these absolute ideas, like this is having you don't say much. You just kind of like, okay, well,
just gotta wait around.
We just wait and see. That's okay.
All right. This is a big week. You don't even know about it. Big day.
Okay, what?
NFL schedule reveal week.
Oh boy.
It is. You guys see the eye roll. They've already announced the Eagles at home against Dallas for Thursday. There's going to be a trickle. And I think it's going to be Chargers hosting the Chiefs on Friday. So they've added a Friday. So
wait, they've added a Friday game too?
The first week.
Like just 1 week, not all weeks?
Well, there's a antitrust thing where they can't put football on Friday or Saturday during high school and college season.
Oh.
As part of their antitrust exemption. But that first Friday falls outside of high school football, so to speak. And even then, it's not broadcast. It's a streaming game. And the streaming games, I don't know, there's some sort of exception. So schedule reveal when I was in the NFL and you were whatever.
It was a big day. I remember.
It was a big day.
Yeah, because like, are we spending Thanksgiving home? Are we spending Christmas away? How are we managing this? What's going to happen?
And as I always said, the first thing that players look at on schedule reveal is
the bye week.
No.
Holidays.
No.
What?
The first thing the players look at is when do I play Sunday night football?
Oh.
When do I play Monday night football? Right? When are the big TV games? When are the big rivalry games? That's what players look at first. As the team doctor, the first thing I looked at is when do we play Thursday, and my schedule for my regular practice is cattywampus. When do we travel to the East Coast where we leave on Friday? That's what I would look at, right? So wives and girlfriends, what would they look at? Christmas, Thanksgiving, the holidays, right?
Well, I mean, we didn't have kids at the time, so I looked at the bye week because we always would plan like a weekend or a trip out of town for the bye week and do something fun.
Coaches would look at divisional games, and yes, everyone would look at the bye week to some extent. So it's schedule reveal week. And now, I don't know if you realize this, Thanksgiving games are always a regular fixture, but now Christmas games are a regular fixture. What do you think about that?
Stupid. Annoying and a pain. I'm not for it.
You're not
like,
for it?
Well, we're trying to have a nice dinner, say a family prayer, and then like all the men in our family are like, "Where's the game? Where's the game? What's the score?"
Just have to time out the meals for the between games. I'm just joking. No. So 18-game schedule is coming, and I think they're going to add 2 bye weeks. So it'll be 20 weeks of football.
Oh my gosh.
So they've got the Friday game the first week. They've got
so Super Bowl will be pushed out a whole nother week into February?
I think they're going to put Super Bowl on President's Day weekend, which would mean Super Bowl Sunday would be a holiday afterwards.
I mean, yes, that's okay. But
they're going to take away one preseason.
It just seems like it never ends. It's just nonstop.
So you're not for schedule expansion?
No, I wouldn't go back to the old days where it was just quick and done.
Wasn't that quick?
Well, it seems a lot quicker than it does now, but that's all right. I mean, we're pretty used to it now. I mean, to be honest, like, I would watch football and I'm interested and I like watching sports. But I mean, our kids are so busy on Sundays. You're working all day with the games and stuff. And Sundays have turned into an extremely busy day for sports for our kids because it's same way with kids sports. There's so much of it that they got to do Sundays. I mean, I'm driving kids all over town on Sundays for practices and games and such.
Yeah, I always say, like, clearly, when you watch your son play baseball, like his little rec league playoff game, Final Four right now, playoff game tonight, your excitement and nervousness level is what out of 100?
Oh, now it's pretty low.
Low?
Yeah, I think before as a mom, like, to be honest, like, I mean, sure, I'm competitive and I like to see him win and do well, but I'm more concerned about his emotions and how he carries himself, his sportsmanship, and all those things. And I think when he was younger, we were working through being an emotional baseball player, stuff like that. And I think now, I think he does a great job keeping his emotions.
But your excitement level of watching
I'm excited to watch it.
Out of 100. Excitement level to watch the game.
I don't know.
99?
I'm pretty tired. No.
No?
I mean,
so you'd miss the game.
I'm gonna miss the game because our daughter has one of our other kids does something. I'm going.
Well, you're upset about it.
Well, sure. I'd rather stay and watch the whole
So what's
thing.
your excitement level to watch the game?
Oh, like
out of 100.
80.
What's your excitement level to watch the Super Bowl?
Oh, like 20.
That's my point. It's vested interest.
Sure.
Right.
It's the time in our lives too. I'm just like where I went to the, we talk about a lot our son. We don't really talk a lot about our daughter, who's is toe to toe leveling the sport, is a significant better athlete than he is. That we don't even discuss her.
We did discuss her and her 6-pack abs.
I know. She does competitive cheerleading at a very high level, which we kind of fell into, knew nothing about. And she trains a lot, practices a lot, and
our son's
really good.
Dylan only does something for 2 minutes.
Yeah, but she trains.
Yeah,
she trains like 15 hours a week for 2 minutes.
What she does in her 2-minute routine for cheer is way more athletic than what he does in an entire baseball game in terms of cumulative time and athleticism. It's like,
and the preparation.
Even if you play shortstop in a 7-inning game, what do you get? 3 plays?
Yeah.
I mean, kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, your Mother's Day, what was the best part of Mother's Day?
Just
this podcast.
Yeah, this podcast. Not just being at home. 2 of our kids were on a trip for school. So we just had our youngest home. And it was nice. You were very kind. You said, you made brunch reservations, we do stuff. And I opted to just relax at home, which was really nice. We had some family in town the day before to celebrate our youngest daughter's first communion. So then it was just nice to relax.
And then?
And then we went to the James Taylor concert last night. And that was fun.
And my wife amazed me.
Mm-hmm.
I know James Taylor a little bit, Fire and Rain, whatever that song, whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know, 1 or 2 other songs.
Yeah.
Carolina, whatever.
Carolina, yeah. Mexico.
No.
You heard that
I've
one.
heard it before.
Yeah.
She knew 20 songs,
yeah.
including the words.
Well, it's very nostalgic. I mean, I was telling our other friends, we get in the car with our kids now and they're like, put on my song, I want to listen to this song, my turn, my music, my station. They all have their own pre-stations on Pandora or whatever. When I was growing up, you got in the car with your dad playing and they were like, you just didn't say a word. You just kept your mouth shut. And my parents played whatever they wanted. And so I grew up listening to a lot of James Taylor, the Eagles, the Beatles and stuff. And I think, younger in my rebellious stages, I was like, oh, James Taylor. Yeah. But now it's super nostalgic and I really, really enjoy it. And so I was
you knew all the words.
I do. I know all the words. I mean, when you're driving, in the car, I grew up in LA, you're in the car a lot and stuff. That's all you were listening to. I wasn't like our kids that was like, I'm connecting they connect their own phones to the car and playing their songs at this point.
Well, James Taylor's 77.
Yeah.
And it was an older crowd there.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
number...
Or it was our age and we're just delusional.
Way older than you, older than me too. If we had you probably won the award for, if there was a ratio of songs you knew and knew the words to divide by age, you'd have the highest quotient. Because there were some that knew all the songs, but they were 75-year-olds that knew all the songs.
Or everyone knew the songs and it was just older crowd and it was late and people were tired and you look for there were several people that were kind of dozing off a little bit. I mean, it was a very relaxing, calm crowd. It was quite different.
Out on the water. It was all good.
It was beautiful.
All right. What else do you want to talk about here for your part in the podcast here? And you're welcome to stay for all of it.
That's all right. But thank you. I'll pass.
Taylor, I found out that she has occasionally listened into the podcast. And so we have to be careful what we say. but she thinks it's a snooze fest, so she moves on.
A little bit. Well, it's just not my interest or my time. I mean, my time's pretty maximized with child activities and filling out this form and that form. And
all right, you're excused. Anything else you want to talk about?
no.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Thanks.
Happy Mother's Day to me too.
Okay,
let's start Father's Day celebration.
Do we do a Father's Day podcast?
Every Monday.
Oh, you guys do. All right. Well,
all right. Thanks. All right. Welcome to part 2 of the Sports Injury Central Pro Football Doc podcast. Part 1 is with my wife, the annual Mother's Day podcast, where she can get out of her system whatever she wants to. But she always gets shy. She comes on here. You hear her on the halftime injury chats.
Yep.
And we get here and she goes, "What do you want to talk about?" Like, whatever you want. This is your chance so that you're quiet the rest of the time. She gets mouthy about.
You have like a dead silence, right? When you say, "Hey, are you ready to? Here's the podcast," and I'm just like, there's a whirlwind of stuff coming. You just don't have to like fully bring it in.
Yeah, it's more spontaneous chirping. But anyways, all good. The only thing, see, she confirmed schedule release, right? What people look at, like fans look at, what Packers game am I going to travel to, or Chiefs game, or gee, if you're, if you live in LA, when does my team come to town? When do the Broncos come to town, or whoever, kind of thing. Or when am I going to go to Las Vegas and see the Raiders or a game or what have you? So everyone has their different things that they look at, but and then of course all the handicappers, wins, losses, and put schedules and who plays who off a bye, and of course the teams are known well in advance. Right?
Yeah, just when. Yeah, that's all it needs to know.
Yeah. And then for schedule release, I found it interesting. There was some chatter about, it's not announced yet. It's expected to be announced. The Chargers are definitely Friday streaming, which also kind of avoids the antitrust thing. It was for broadcast TV on Friday after the Thursday opener, which is Eagles, traditional Super Bowl winner, hosting the Cowboys. There's been some talk. It's only 6 times in 25 years that a team with 6 or less wins has gotten that game. Well, it's the Cowboys. I mean, so they're always, right? Yeah. I mean, they're not going to, no offense, they're not going to put a 6-win Cleveland Brown or Jaguars, or 6 or less win team in that. This is a marquee matchup. But the Cowboys always qualify, especially with a divisional matchup against the Eagles. The Chargers could have protected 2, maybe 3 games.
Two AFC, yeah.
Well, they could have protected 2 games of any kind. Mm-hmm. It's their home game, so they could have protected 2 games, and they could have protected the Chiefs. I mean,
they chose 2 non-AFC teams, I believe, is what they did. Yeah,
and I don't know why they did.
Right.
Who knows? Maybe they feel like a divisional matchup. I mean, it's not a secret. The poor LA Chargers. It's a lot of away fans.
Mm-hmm.
So, from a strategic standpoint, you want to protect your home divisional games because they're important. But maybe it levels out the playing field. I mean, the fans will be more neutral in Brazil than in LA. I mean, there'd be more Chiefs fans than Chargers fans, and maybe some of the other one-off teams coming into town are bigger revenue for them. I don't know why they made the decision, but it's not the typical you gave up the home field advantage against a division rival. I'm not sure that's a factor for the Chargers right now, but I'm excited for the schedule release. We'll see what happens there. We know where we're going to be on Sundays, so it's okay.
Yes. No, I'm excited just from a fan, just how the social media does it. Every single team, social media does a fantastic job of releasing the schedules, doing it in a fun way. So
we have our own thing to say too, right? We were very successful last year looking at, let's take the Raiders. The Raiders were among the healthiest teams in 2023, mm-hmm. which led us to basically they were able to outperform in 2023 because of their health. And usually there's regression. And with that was a solid unders for their future. And they obviously did not have a great season. And there are some others that were very injured that ended up with better years. And so we have all that data. We'll put that out soon on Sports Injury Central and through the picks that we do. But that's been, if you like futures plays, if you look at injury data and what we have, that's been very predictive. Nothing's perfect, but it's been very predictive. And it would make sense if a team's coming off a very healthy year and they're above the norm. If they have an average healthy year, they're going to fall back from where you think they might be. And the opposite, a team very injured, and then they might outperform. I'll say, for example, people are worried about the Detroit Lions losing their coordinators. What's the bigger effect? Losing your offensive and defensive coordinators, or potentially a chance to have a healthy front seven, which they did not have for the later half of the entire season. And it finally got them against the Washington Commanders. What's the bigger? Of course, you lose something losing your very successful coordinators.
But you're getting 80 touches back, right?
You're getting the health back.
Yeah.
I mean, I might say
that might be a wash, right? Those two losses are.
I might say it's an upside.
There you go.
It's a trade up. But anyways, all right. What do you want to do? Let's go through the rundown here.
All right, first thing I want to talk about, Doc, just from a fan standpoint, I have his socks in my closet. Derek Carr, he didn't love that comment. Former Raiders quarterback, former Saints quarterback, announced his retirement.
I got one question. Are they clean socks or dirty socks?
They're clean because I haven't worn them a while because I'm a Raiders fan. So they've been
not actually Derek Carr's game use socks.
No, they're like stamped socks with his big head on it. Yes, exactly.
I'm just saying, what do you do with them in socks?
Yeah. No, not his game use socks or anything. No. But
do we need to worry about you there? If you've got,
you should already be worried about, or it's too late. One or the other. Yeah.
Okay. So my favorite saying,
yeah,
and we talked about this.
Yes.
If it doesn't make sense from the outside, it does from the inside. We just don't have all the factors and truth yet. So prior to his retirement, there was a lot of shoulder injury. What shoulder injury? Where did that come from? And we looked. We did not see any shoulder injury in 2024 season. Admittedly, we did go back with the Kirk Cousins shoulder issue, and we did find a play and a specific injury that correlated to his stats that led to his 4-game stretch of poor play afterwards. And he was even on the injury report initially, and then Michael Penix. So Kirk Cousins might have a rebound. We never found anything on Derek Carr. Right. There was a play in 2023 where he landed on it, which is more AC joint, and we didn't see that as an acute injury. And now here comes the truth. It's cumulative wear and tear on the rotator cuff of his shoulder, which certainly makes some sense, but there's nothing that we could have seen per se. And obviously there was a little bit of a falling out. And so I think everything that happens has now made sense. When Ian Rappaport started saying he might have surgery, we were saying, why didn't he already have it? Get ready for the season. Right. Why? He wasn't intending to play again, so you don't need the surgery. So why was the injury coming to the forefront? It's, you can't cut me, you better pay me that $10 million and I can get next year's salary. I'm injured, right? The negotiating tool. Now we hear what happened. He's retiring. They've reached an agreement where he keeps the $10 million bonus that he got. He's not going to get the $30 million for next year, but also he doesn't have to pay back a prorated share of his signing bonus of $28.5 million. So the shoulder injury, and I'm not saying it wasn't real. I think you could say that about a lot of football players because they're not playing at 100%. It was a chip in Derek Carr's camp where you could say, well, no, I've got some moves to make here. You can't just cut me, right? And Mickey Loomis and the Saints have known for a long time that they're moving on from Derek.
No surprise to them, yeah. I don't know.
Derek Carr knew that he was being moved on from, and the retirement maybe comes because there's nowhere else he wants to play. I'm not saying he's faking his shoulder, but he is making that negotiating chip in a point. There's no question. I don't doubt that he has a shoulder issue, but I guarantee you he throws the ball a lot better than I could, period, end of discussion, in my prime. Okay. I mean, right. I mean, so it all makes sense. This was not a surprise to Mickey Loomis or Derek Carr. It was all the behind the scenes stuff. So I just use this as an example of, if it doesn't make sense from the outside, it does from the inside. And this is why I keep saying, you said to me, oh, does this mean Aaron Rodgers going to New Orleans? I'm like, no.
When Pickens got traded, yeah, right.
When Pickens got traded makes sense. He's been a little bit unhappy there, and the Steelers are ready to move on from him. I think the Steelers were trying to trade him before the draft, but Dallas was saying, no, we want you to have picks in 2026, not 2025. And so they held on. And maybe as it came up to the third round pick, maybe if Dallas didn't have the player that they really wanted there, maybe they would have made the trade right then and there on draft day.
Yeah.
And one thing I can tell you is, when you hear of a trade on draft day, like we saw with Jacksonville moving up to Cleveland, that was done 17 days in advance.
Not on the day. No, yeah, not always on the day.
Not on the day. Now, is there a wait and see, for example, if for some reason the Titans didn't take Cam Ward and the Titans took
Joe Carter,
Travis Hunter, that's the player Jacksonville wanted, the deal might have been off. The deal might have been off if they took Travis Hunter, didn't take Cam Ward. Maybe the Browns would have said, oh, no, we're keeping that pick to take Cam Ward now, right? And so you see a lot of that. We've talked about this story before, and the big one is that I saw firsthand that clearly the Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers famous trade on draft day was pre-negotiated. How do I know that? I'm at the kids' room in the draft room, 10 people at the adult dining room on Thanksgiving. I'm in the little kids table in the corner with the head athletic trainer. And I heard the discussion. I mean, look, Eli Manning, we've been over this. He doesn't want to play here. Do we still draft him? Robert Gallery, we could take Gallery, but then if we take Gallery, that's giving Eli Manning to the Raiders. Do we really want that? The Raiders had the second pick. And good old A.J. Smith, God bless his soul, stuck to his OK Corral guns. And he said, I'm taking Eli. And the Giants knew that we wanted Phillip. The Giants were probably thinking, maybe there's a chance to blink and not take Eli and take Gallery, and then we can trade up to 2 or 3 to get Eli Manning or what have you, or hold on and get Eli Manning. Or perhaps maybe the Chargers would blink and just take Phillip Rivers, who's the guy that we wanted in the first pick. Instead, A.J. Smith said, no, Eli Manning. And you saw Eli Manning very chagrined on draft day. And then there was tension in the room. But the second the pick was announced, Phillip Rivers, we knew that the Giants didn't want Phillip Rivers. They wanted Eli. They knew the trade was done. In that draft room, at that head table, there was a cheer when Phillip Rivers was drafted. And sure enough, 2 seconds later, the phone rang, and A.J. Smith picked up the phone, said, hang on, and left the room and finished up the conversation, and the Giants trade was done. That's where we got Merriman and Nate Kading and some of the other people. That was a pre-negotiated trade, but there was a little game of chicken. Okay, these are the terms. But it's not draft day where you present an idea on the day of the draft and, okay, I'll do it kind of thing. It's, here are the parameters, and okay, we'll do it if, we know this is available if kind of deal. And I think that's what happened with George Pickens. The Cowboys wanted their third for this year, and now the Pickens trade happens. But that's foregone conclusion. That has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers. And circling back, I think that's why I told you, no, Aaron Rodgers is not going to New Orleans. They don't want him.
Yeah, I've been asked that question.
Internally, Derek Carr's not going to be there, and they haven't reached out to Aaron Rodgers already. This is not new news to Mickey Loomis and Kellen Moore. I mean, if they already knew that. If they thought Aaron Rodgers was for them, they would have talked to Aaron Rodgers a long time ago. Mm-hmm. But I still think there's something unexplained about Rodgers to Steelers. There's some reason why he doesn't want to sign right now. Maybe because it's a bad look if he's signed and not at OTAs and whatever. Maybe it avoids that. But there are some, you mark my words, we will come back on this podcast and say, what doesn't make sense from the outside does from the inside. There's still something we don't know that will make this all make sense. Teams sometimes make decisions that end up being wrong, but no team makes a decision that makes no sense from the get-go. It made sense to them at the time, given what they knew or their evaluations. And the decision, the draft pick, the whatever may not have worked out. But if a team is doing something stupid from the point of view of the fans, I assure you they are not in the moment. The fans just don't know what the real story is.
Right.
Is the bottom line. The background as to how it gets there. And I've been on both sides of that fence.
You've seen it before. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just to direct people, I know it's slow in NFL news, but there's constantly people doing off-season surgeries and stuff like that. We have an off-season surgery tracker at SICScore.com. Anybody that gets injured or so forth this off-season, the rookies are starting. I know you saw that video of Mason Graham. Everybody's giving him crap because he threw up on the field when he's doing his workout for the Browns. But I mean, that's common everybody. But yeah, common stuff.
The injury tracker, the reason why that's important is there's no formal injury reporting in the offseason. So it's an injury trickle. When a reporter asks who's not at minicamp or OTAs, or, there's a charity softball game and a player is on a scooter or in a sling, right? And that's how the injury news comes out. And so we track all of that so fans don't have to. You can go to one spot and get it all because it's all a trickle. Another one that's interesting is we've always said first year back after an ACL is not great. Jonathan Brooks tore his ACL. We were never high on him coming off his college.
Tore it again. And, what's the saying, fool me once and fool me twice kind of thing. He played early. Now, we said Jonathan Brooks don't count on a good rookie year because he tore his ACL in college. You guys know all this. We said that. And he returned, didn't do a whole lot, and then tore his ACL again. And I think Dave Canales, head coach, is doing him a favor, saying rushing back didn't work last time. Don't do it again.
Now, take the entire – you can't play this season, but take the entire season to get right because we don't want this to happen again. Mm-hmm. Rush back again and not be 100% and have something bad happen. So as disappointing as it is for Jonathan Brooks and fans of Jonathan Brooks, but it makes some sense. Let him get right and come in with a clean footing.
I know you don't do this stuff, Doc, but like the long-term dynasty fantasy and stuff, you just leave him on the long-term IR and just wait a year or two because like he still has the potential to be effective, and they drafted him for a reason, right? To be maybe a 1-2 with Hubbard. But for now, like you said, you just got to leave him on the side and not expect anything from the year. So
depends on the league and who you have and the rules and how patient you are. And
patient is key, yeah.
And that's what I would say. People would say, should I do this? Or should I do this or not do this? Well, it depends on the whole context, okay? Right. If you have Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry on your team, I don't care what his SIC score is for the week or their offensive line for the week. If they're playing in the game, you're starting him in fantasy because you have that capital on him, right? I mean, now DFS you might not if there's some questions, but for traditional fantasy, Derrick Henry, you are starting, period, come hell or high water. It's sort of some of the other ones where you'd say, what about player A or B when there's a choice, your RB2 in terms of health and what have you, for example.
So jumping in the NBA, Doc, big day for NBA. It's the draft lottery today. I don't know if you knew this. The worst record has not won since 2019. So it doesn't benefit you for tanking, I guess, right? The last couple of years in NBA because they're not getting number one pick. So I thought that was interesting.
Should the NFL go to a draft lottery?
I think it's fun, but I don't know, because right now, the last 5 years, if you're a bad NBA team like the Charlotte Hornets per se, you haven't had a really number one prospect. You had Brandon Miller a couple years ago, but I feel like you're not getting what you should be getting for being that bad. You know what I mean? Like NFL, I feel like you get rewarded for being bad, so you just get the number one pick. But this one, I don't know. I think there's a lot of pros and cons to it. I couldn't tell you whether I'd want it or not.
I would say no, and here's why. The NBA had to go to a draft lottery because teams were tanking purposefully, and not that teams don't tank in general right now, right? I mean, you got a bad roster out there, you're in the lottery.
You're trying to be in the top 5, yeah, exactly.
When you're trying, when we lose this last game or these 2 games, and we will get Cooper Flag. Right. That has been too tempting, or whatever the player is in the NBA. The NFL, we just haven't seen it. On the way out the door, Houston ended up doing great, but on the way out the door, blanking on the Houston's previous coach's name.
Lovie Smith?
Lovie Smith won that last game, cost Houston the number 1 draft pick. Yes. Which then ended up helping them because they ended up with CJ Stroud at number 2. Right? But they had the number 1 pick that year until he won that final game. And there was examples of this last year too, like winning that last game or a game in the last couple of weeks does cost you some draft choices. And I think the reason why it hasn't been a problem is those coaches and those players are still fighting for a potential job, so they're not tanking. And if you're not tanking, I don't think you need a draft lottery. The NBA was clear they were tanking certain games, so you needed a draft lottery for integrity of the game.
That happened in New England a little bit this year too, didn't it? Didn't they? They were going to get 1 or 2 and they dropped out, and then people thought that was a reason why Mayo got fired, right? Because they were in the position to get one of the first picks, but then they fell off. Remember, they won a couple games later in the year. So, is that something you think it's still part of people's process, right? Whether they want to say it or not.
Gerard Mayo's trying to fight to win a game. He's not taking.
He's not worried about that, yeah.
Right, and so therefore, there you go, right? And, look, did Robert Kraft want Gerard Mayo? Clearly he hired him, but did he know at the time that Mike Vrabel would be available?
No, he didn't. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That changed the dynamics quite a bit there. Anyways, interesting that since we're talking Patriots, the Belichick, the girlfriend did not win Miss Maine, so less publicity now.
Yes. No, but now they have videos of him talking to Miss Massachusetts. So it's there's always some video that they focus on him, he can't say hi to anybody without, the video getting out of context or so. But
it's it's tough. Yeah.
It's the world he's in right now.
And then nowadays, do you know it's real or is it an AI generated photo?
Exactly. Yes.
You never know. Anyways, what's next?
Going to the NBA stuff, like you said, we talked about the lottery. Big injuries in the playoffs right now, Doc. We'll talk about 4 names right now. First one is the big one is Donovan Mitchell. Cleveland Cavaliers, big name superstar. He had a left ankle injury. He missed the last 4 games of the regular season. They showed video. There wasn't a certain play, but he was shooting around right before the second half, and it looked like he couldn't lean into it. Ruled out for the rest of the game. Your thoughts on that injury for him?
I still think it's short term. The biggest injury, obviously, is still Steph Curry. And yes. I don't think he can be effective this series. I mean, they got to take it to game 6 or 7 for him to come back. And it's a big game today. Golden State 2-1 score against Minnesota. Minnesota's up. Can Jimmy Butler do it to keep him alive? That's the biggest one. The next biggest one might be Ant-Man. I mean, that mild high ankle, he did return to play pretty well, but he wasn't 100%. And remember, high ankles don't go away immediately, even though his was very mild. I'd say that's number 2. And then Karl-Anthony Towns with his 4th finger, dancing around broken, not broken. I mean, there's at least a significant ligament injury to his 4th finger. He is primarily right-handed, but still defensively rebounds, driving, you need both hands. So he's got the big wrap on that 4th PIP joint of his ring finger. That's another one there.
Darius Garland with his toe injury, the point guard for Cavaliers. So that's 2 injuries now. Their 2 best players.
There seems to be a lot this playoffs, from obviously Damian Lillard to heck, Kristaps Porzingis still isn't right.
His viral illness he's dealing with, correct? Yeah, since March. Yeah. So there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of updated insights on SICScore.com. We've been
SIC picks have been pretty good. People who took advantage of that special, not only for baseball, for basketball. That was the Pacers was pretty easy.
Yeah, that was, yes. And then baseball, going to that, our SIC picks has been really rolling. Our 3-star picks are just under 75%, and we're up 30 units on the year, Doc, for just baseball. So that's pretty incredible going into the dog days of summer, I guess, right? And then MLB coverage constant. Corey Seager for the Texas Rangers re-injured his hamstring. He's going to be out for a little bit. And then Clayton Kershaw, who, Doc, I feel like every single time I read an injury report, we have some news on him every single year. He's going to be returning to pitching this week for the first time this year, too. So,
another piece of baseball injury news, that Pirates fan has talked now. I mean, he's still, I think, in the hospital and still pretty messed up, but he's no longer critical and he's alive, and good for him. And yeah, he was, I guess, drunk and, unfortunate accident, but that was a very scary looking fall. We talked about it last week. Good to hear that he's fine.
One last topic, Doc, before we go, we covered MLB. Is just there's an incident that happened early February with former Ohio State offensive lineman Ben Christman, 21-year-old. They just released that he was dealing with heart disease, cardiomyopathy. He was going to in his final year at UNLV this year. Just tell me your thoughts on just that, what happened, and the information that was released early today.
I mean, my heart goes out to his family, and I saw the Kurt Herbstreit stuff. And I've seen the Twitter or X chatter. Look, with San Diego Sports Medicine Foundation, when I was heavily involved, we did a lot of high school screening physicals. And we had a process of trying to identify at-risk individuals. And not every player got an echocardiogram, potential player, but the ones that seemed to be at risk did. And there were a couple of rule-outs. And did we end up saving a life? You never know, right? You can't prove that down the road. But cardiomyopathy is detectable with an echocardiogram. Is it cost effective to echocardiogram every kid? Probably not. But I have to believe more now that with NIL and NIL money and all this other stuff, and they're basically professionals, yet they're still kids. I'd love to see a better system where we could take care of these guys and not let money be the limiting factor. Look, right. There's no question that if you had to get an echo to play sports in high school, you'd be robbing a lot of kids the opportunity to play sports because of cost, and it's not feasible. Now, when we did the physicals, they were free physicals or et cetera. And if you need an echo, we found a way to get it for you. So we didn't have that problem. But at some of these high levels, maybe it's time to look at the policy a little bit. And I'm not a cardiologist, and I'm not saying anyone did anything wrong, but I am saying that cardiomyopathy is detectable, especially with echocardiogram. is not EKG, but echo, sometimes EKG. My point is, was there something that could be done? I don't know for sure, but if there is, we certainly love to see it. We certainly don't want to rob kids of an opportunity to play sports. And the first guy, when Maurice Hurst, shouldn't play football, he fell in the draft, he's got heart issues, and he was cleared in the end, and he's still in the league and fine. We want kids to have opportunities and play, but we also don't want them dropping dead.
Right.
And so I think there's still something to more uniformed, screening. And nowadays there's another level to it, which is with NIL and transfer portal, there isn't the continuity, to a kid. And I get the pressure to pass the kid on a physical, especially if it's just, well, he might have an issue, but it's a small chance. But you already signed him for NIL money, and it puts the doctors and medical in a difficult situation. But it's just sad to see a 21-year-old kid,
All right, Doc, well, I'll wrap it up with that. Just can you continue to go to SICScore.com for all the latest insights, MLB, NBA, and NFL, as always.
Well, let's get the rest of the schedule release. It should be a fun week. And leave it to the NFL. Schedule release gets all this excitement and hype.
NBA playoffs is deep in, and we're still talking about that release. It's crazy, yeah.
And these NBA playoffs have been good, I think.
Yes, they have. Yeah, a couple blowouts, but a lot of last-second finishes. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how about that hockey game? Was it 0.4 seconds?
Oh, the tie the game, and then they won it in overtime. Yes, the Winnipeg Jets game. Yeah, I saw that.
Crazy. 0.4. Crazy.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for watching Pro Football Doc, Sports Injury Central podcast, and thanks to the wife Kim. You guys won't have to hear for another year, except on the halftime injury chats, maybe.
She's already unhappy about the schedule already, Doc. So
I know. I set her up. I knew I knew she changed her mind about my son's football. B, I knew she was irritated by Christmas football. But I look at it this way now that she's gone and isn't going to listen to it. The only time it comes into play, be it Thanksgiving, she's gotten a cadence to serve dinner after the second game, before the third game on Thanksgiving. She's just got to do the same for Christmas, but more religious holiday, this, that, the other, and sometimes you don't time out dinner, right? The turkey's not done or the ham, but the rest of the day she's forgetting that I stay out of her hair.
Yeah.
All right.
Good.
But you mark my words, with 18 games, there's going to be 2 preseason games, 2 bye weeks. And that's how it's going to work out. All right. Thanks for listening and watching.